Good evening and welcome to the October 21, 2024 meeting of the City of Tuscaloosa Planning and Zoning Commission. This meeting allows for alternate participation in order to accommodate all citizens. Any written comments sent to staff are forwarded to the commission directly. At this time, I'd like to introduce our staff. Jimbo Woodson, Deputy City Attorney, Michael Garner, City Engineer, Zach Pons, Director of Planning, Haley Webb, Development Review Coordinator, Emily Hayes, Associate Director of Planning, Leota Coyne, Planner, Lily McIntyre, Special Projects Coordinator. There are 9 members of the Planning Commission, all who are appointed by the mayor for staggered terms with the exception of the City Council representative who is appointed by the City Council. I ask the commission members to introduce themselves and state their occupation for the record, beginning with Mr. Rumsey.
A business owner.
Dina Prince, attorney.
Vince Dooley, UA Planning.
Ann Hornsby, attorney.
Councilwoman Raven Howard.
Eddie Pugh, retired.
Bill Wright, business owner.
Tim Harrison, general contractor.
There are sign-up sheets outside for public comment. 4 speakers are allowed to speak in favor of a petition, and 4 speakers are allowed to speak in opposition of a petition. All speakers will have a maximum of 5 minutes unless the commission allows a longer time. Tonight's procedures, the commission will take up items in the order of our final agenda. The commission will initially receive a presentation from staff as to the details of the agenda item. Additionally, we may hear certain matters involving the same property, such as an annexation and a zoning matter concurrently, although we will take separate votes on each matter involving the same property. After the staff presentation, we'll then call upon the petitioner to present their case. The petitioner will have a maximum of 10 minutes unless the commission allows a longer time. At the conclusion of the petitioner's remarks, we'll then call on any other party in order of sign-up, otherwise who desires to support the petition, and thereafter we'll call upon those who wish to oppose the petition. When it's your time for comment, please introduce yourself, stating your name and address to the commission to provide your remarks. Any written comments, again, have been included into the record. After receiving the remarks of those who oppose the petition, the petitioner will have the opportunity to respond to those objections. Any rebuttal will be limited to 2 minutes unless the commission votes to allow a longer time. If the petitioner presents any new information in response to the objections, we will allow those who oppose the opportunity to respond to the new information only. Any response will be limited to 2 minutes unless the commission votes to allow a longer time. During the course of the presentation, you may be interrupted by any member of the commission for a clarification or additional information. Such interruptions will not reduce your time. Once the commission members are satisfied they've received all relevant information, we'll then close for further discussion by the public, at which time the commission members will discuss the matter and then vote. After the vote, you are free to leave. These proceedings are video recorded and broadcast live. All in-person public comments should be made at the podium into the microphone. Comments made by phone or virtually are video recorded through our conferencing application. Again, please first state your name and address for the record. Jurisdiction. In all matters pertaining to subdivision regulations, approval of subdivisions within the city and its planning jurisdictions, and as to amendments, plan unit developments, and located outside the city limits, this commission serves as the final authority. As to matters pertaining to historic buffer zone construction, our decision is subject to appeal to the City Council. As to all remaining agenda matters, including original zonings, rezonings, plan unit developments within the city, and street vacations, this commission serves as a recommending body to the City Council. In that regard, our decisions are in the form of a recommendation to be presented to the City Council, and the City Council will make the final decision on those matters. Subdivision approval requires the affirmative vote of 6 members of the Planning Commission. All matters which are a recommendation to the City Council require a majority vote for an affirmative recommendation. At this time, I'll ask, do any members of the commission have any conflicts of interest as to any agenda matters before us tonight? If so, please state for the record. Okay, having heard none, I would ask the staff to confirm on the record that proper notice has been given to all parties in interest as required by law as to all matters before the commission tonight.
It has.
Thank you. Okay. All right, with that, we will begin with approval of the minutes. As the Planning and Zoning Commission has received the synopsis of the September 2024 meeting, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the same unless there are any deletions, additions, or corrections. All those in favor of those minutes being approved, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Minutes are approved.
Good evening, Commission. We do have 2 items on consent agenda this evening. We have S7024 and S7124. Both requesting no variances, and no one has signed up to speak for or against.
Does anyone care to speak on any of these 2 consent agenda items before us tonight? Having heard none, Commission, before us we have 2 items on the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it.
All right, and we do have 1 case requesting to withdraw, S7224 Baker's Court, and they are here to make that request.
Petitioner?
Kevin Hinkle, Montgomery and Hinkle, Inc., Professional Land Surveyors, 203 Hargrove Road East, representing Baker's Court. And we do ask to withdraw this case. This was a little miscommunication. It wasn't ready to move forward at the time.
Your full withdrawal?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Commission, before us we have S7224 Baker's Court asking for a withdrawal. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Case withdrawn.
We do have 1 case carried over from last month's meeting. It's a rezoning. So we have Z1324, Austin Markham petitions to rezone approximately 0.3 acres located at 2501 12th Avenue East from R2 to BGO. This is in Council District 6. Here's a vicinity map. We are on Hargrove, just south of the mall, north of Bowers Park. Here is the existing zoning today, zoned R2. And here's an aerial view of the site. It is clear today. And 1 more look. The applicant did include a nearby existing BGO properties. I believe this was within a 2-mile radius, so we wanted to include that for them. They're requesting to rezone from R2 to BGO to allow for the development of a commercial office building. Here's a site plan of what that could look like. And as they were doing the site plan, they were taking into account the future zoning ordinance for this area, which would transfer to neighborhood commercial if rezoned. So their site plan is off of the future zoning ordinance in that regard. Here's some elevations of what that could look like. This is a 2-story building. The view from the rear, from the right, and the left. And here are some renderings with color. Bring it to life. Parking will be along the rear, from the front. Looking at this, the zoning request and the intended use both do not conform to Framework. Framework identified this area as suburban residential, which is predominantly single-family housing. And here's that future land use character map.
Will you switch it back, please? So the green is parks and open space?
Yes, ma'am. And then the pink you see is commercial. The brown is multifamily.
Thank you.
And then continuing on, we have all of those permitted uses within our current zoning BGO. We can quickly skip through these, but if there's any you want me to go back to, please feel free. And all of the special exceptions within BGO. Do you have any questions for staff?
Go back to the plan view of the parking. we confirmed the parking requirements meet.
We have.
What's different about, is there any difference? I'm sorry, I can't remember. Did they ask for BN in September?
No, ma'am. Nope, it's been
They've
BGO.
always asked for BGO.
Yes, ma'am.
We've got R1
Fully
The-
surrounded by
to the,
R2.
fully surrounded by R1.
And we did receive 2 letters of opposition the first month that this was on the agenda. And then again, we continued that, so those were carried over to this month.
So,
Any more questions, petitioner? For staff. Petitioner, please.
Hello, everyone.
Name and address for the
I'm
record.
sorry. My name is Albert. I'm super intimidated with this huge crowd. But
They're all here for you.
No, thank God. My name is Albert Gonzalez, and my address is 4 Crestline Drive, Tuscaloosa.
Can you tell us about your
Oh,
project?
all right. This feels like architecture school all over again. So the owner, his name is Austin Markham, and I work for him. I'm his designer. And so initially he wanted to do a 3-room student housing project, and I kind of deterred him from that idea. And looking at the services that are most beneficial to the community, this being the mouth of Hargrove into Idlewood, right in front of the park. There are actually about 20 BGO lots in the Hargrove corridor. And on the east side, which is where we are, could you put that pink map, please? You'll see that we have 4 existing BGO lots. And so what we're asking is not a one-off, a unicorn. There is precedent. We feel that providing a small commercial building, whether it's 1 story or 2, that could provide some type of services to the community, that being maybe some type of therapy for children or adults or something in that nature. We feel that it would benefit more of the community right now than some type of student. We don't need more student housing, right? So that's basically it. The drawings, the elevations, a 2-story, they were just ideas. The site plan meets all of the future BGO requirements. So if you want to ignore those renderings, we have no idea what the building will look like. We need to hire an architect and get to that process if it's allowed.
So you're saying the renderings we're looking at might not be.
I mean,
what we
I can
get.
make him look like that if you like him.
Well, I
you
mean,
know?
that causes me some concern. If you're showing us something and you're saying it might not be what you're looking at
Yeah.
proposing to build, and our concern, I think my concern, everybody else, but, the different types of businesses can go in BGO.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're sitting right on top of a lot of residential housing,
Mm-hmm.
and you got a tall building on top of that, so that second floor is going to be looking down on those neighbors.
Yes, sir.
So there's concerns there, but, my issue really is, if you open it to BGO and you can't tell us exactly what's going to go there, if you showed me a medical office, single floor, parked properly, and I knew what I was getting, I might be a little bit more,
Yeah.
at least willing to listen, but telling me you're not sure that's what you're going to actually do, you want us to take it to BGO, I mean, that's, to me, is, I think, somewhat concerning.
Well, I understand. We were asked by the city to develop a site plan that would show that we could meet the requirements. I could have left it there, but I got kind of creative and I designed something. But if for this consideration, if you want to see the building as is, then I'm okay with that as well. But going forward, the next phase would be, if it's allowed, to hire an architect to develop something within these parameters.
Well, that's where we're in a little bit of a
Yeah.
Yes.
circle here, because I know you don't want to hire an architect if you can't get it rezoned, right? And
Yes, ma'am.
And we don't want to rezone it, or I don't want to rezone it without knowing what's going to go there. It's hard for me to rezone it without knowing what's going to go there. Because once we do that, it's irreparable. We can't change it, and then there's all sorts of things that might be able. A different owner or a different designer might do something that we would not want the neighborhood would not want to have there. So that's where we're stuck.
This helps you have to have one parking space for every, I think it's 3,000 square feet or something like that. So you can't do a multi-story building here, you know. This is worst case scenario, but we could do it as a one-story. We just reduce the parking as that.
But if you saw the number of things that you can do in that zoning district, there are definitely things that, can we pull the end back up just real quick, and so that you can understand what I'm
BGL.
not sure of. BGL, right. What if somebody wants to put, you know, a fraternal lodge there? Right?
It would be very small.
Then, you know, then
A lot of people will get a client and then find out what their exact needs are and then design a building associated with that. And in other words, maybe it's the chicken before the egg. I mean,
I got
in
you.
other words,
What the owner told me, it's going to be more or less something like a family therapy, something in that nature.
So do you have a identified client that
No,
wants to
sir.
go there?
I
mean,
don't
a
have-
tenant, I mean, I should say?
No, I don't.
So there's a lot going on a small piece of property here, you know, with adjacent residential. My concern is similar to other commission members, is the not knowing what's going on there. Not knowing exact. When you show us 2-story and you say, well, it could be 1 story, well, could it be 3? You know, we're concerned about a moving object here, and not being able to hang our hat on anything. So I don't.
Would you like us to come back and present a more concrete design?
That's up to you.
I think it's going to help because also beyond just the site, you know, the parking and all that, you're talking about building materials too.
Okay.
You know, if you don't tie that down, you can put cheaper materials on this than
got
other than the brick and the hardy board that you show. So
All right.
that's kind of what we are concerned about as well.
All right, perfect.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The issue we always face is once we rezone it, it's rezoned.
I got you.
We can't take it back. So we kind of like to know what's going to go there.
Okay.
And with the neighborhood all around it, I'm real familiar with this area. And next to it is a great park, used to be homes, and they flooded, the city bought it and redid everything. It's really nice in that area now compared to what it used to be. And they just say, here's the keys to the city, build what you want. I don't think we're willing to do that. I'm not.
I get you. I appreciate the feedback. This is all new to me too, so.
So your options are you can request a withdrawal, or you can ask for a continuance, or you can ask for a vote. So you've got really 3 options.
Well, I pretty much know what will happen if I ask for a vote, so
So you,
I think I'll do a continuance.
so either you want to do a continuance
Yes.
or a withdrawal.
Continuance.
So now, staff on the continuance side, how much time does he have?
This is the second, and he only has 2. So this will be
2
his
more?
last continuance.
What time period does he have to come back? Is it
He has 90 days. Well,
just so,
it's just the next month that he's going to be coming back.
okay, so you.
It'd be continued to the next month.
we would only have 30 days.
Yeah,
I'll be ready. I'll be ready next week.
okay, well, you go there first. All right, we won't be here next week.
I know.
All right, so you're formally asking for a continuance of this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Commission, the petitioner for Z 1324 is asking for a continuance. All those in favor of granting that, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Commission, moving into our cases to be heard for the evening, we have 1 companion case consisting of an annexation request and 2 rezonings. We'll start with the annexation. They're requesting to annex approximately 5.6 acres located at 5921 New Watermelon Road. Here's that vicinity map with existing city limits shown. Zooming in, we're right at that McWright's Ferry and New Watermelon Road intersection. Here's the annexation boundary map. Requesting to annex into city limits for a new commercial and multifamily residential development. This has been identified as a primary expansion area. In speaking with other city departments, there were no issues. However, environmental services did state that services will not be provided. Getting into that first rezoning, they are requesting to rezone approximately 3.6 of those acres from R1 to BN. Annex property automatically defaults as R1. And this would be in Council District 3. Again, looking at the surroundings, it's surrounded by R1 today. Here is that property. And this request to BN is to accommodate a retail development that will sit closer towards that intersection of New Watermelon Road and McWright's Ferry. Here's a schematic site plan showing what that could look like. Looking at Framework identified this as limited commercial, so the zoning request and intended use does conform to the plan. And here's that future land use character map. Here's a table of all of the permitted uses within BN today. I'll quickly go through these, but feel free to stop me at any time. And special exceptions within BN. The second part of this rezoning request is to rezone approximately 1.92 acres from that defaulted R1 to RMF1. Again, we're in the same area, we're just in the back half of that property requesting to annex. Here's that land from Bluegrass Parkway. And this is to accommodate a multifamily development. So we're looking at the back half of this schematic site plan showing that proposed apartment building. This request does conform to Framework. Framework identified that area as traditional neighborhood core, conforms to the plan regarding the zoning and intended use, and the future land use character map showing that use. I apologize, this is actually traditional neighborhood edge. On this page I said core, this is edge. Going forward, here are all of the permitted uses in RMF1 today highlighted. Do you have any questions for me before the petitioner presents?
Go back to the site plan.
And I would just like to say we received over 30 written emails opposing this. We received a petition with 509 signatures delivered to City Hall. And we also, in front of you all, there are 6 slides printed out that we received that someone may speak in reference of. So that's in front of you all. With that sign-up sheet that is in front of you, when you begin to call on petitioners, you'll see it's a little out of order. They wrote number 1, 2, 3, and 4 for who will speak. So.
One question. I see a fuel canopy here. Is a service station, a gas station?
Yes, ma'am.
Permitted use under BN?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Okay. All right. We'll let them.
Any questions for staff? Ma'am, thank you. Petitioner.
Good evening, Commission. Jimmy Duncan here tonight representing McWright's Ferry Land Company, LLC, with this annexation rezoning request. The architect on this project is Ward Scott Morris Architecture. We have some renderings we're going to show you guys here momentarily. Hunter Plight with McWright's Ferry Land Company is here with me tonight as well. As staff mentioned, 5.6 acres in this overall annexation. The zoning is 3.68 for BN and 1.92 on the RMF1. Building 1 in the BN component is a touch under 11,000 square feet. Building 2 is a touch under 9,000 square feet. And the multifamily component has 24 units consisting of 16 two-bedrooms, 4 one-bedrooms, and 4 three-bedroom units. One thing we want to point out, we're going to talk a good bit about framework and alignment with framework. This project is going to be designed to meet the proposed framework zoning guidelines. So you guys know this well, but these requirements are much more rigid than what's in place today. And we intend to design this project to align with framework. The future zoning would be, the BN would go to general commercial and the RMF1 would go to MFR with framework. This project is going to meet all the proposed landscape and buffer requirements, perimeter parking, screening, islands. We're going to meet the proposed open space standards. exterior lighting standards consisting of full cutoff shielded fixtures and a maximum of 0.5 foot candles trespass along the adjacent residential areas. We're going to meet all the neighborhood compatibility standards along with the proposed multifamily form and design standards, and that's location of parking, facade materials, building offsets, the entrance locations, roof, pitches, and service areas. Additionally, we're going to meet all the proposed signage standards consisting of the display area, maximum heights, illumination, et cetera. On the multifamily component, I wanted to point out the maximum allowed density is 22 units per acre. We're just close to half of that maximum allowed density with the multifamily component. Preliminary site plan. So today, to get everyone oriented, existing Watermelon Road, proposed McWright's Ferry, entrance into Lexington Downs. So this is the enormous intersection that's about to be constructed. We have one full access turnout that's situated, and it meets all the proximity standards to the intersection. On New Watermelon will be the primary entrance and the secondary connection to Bluegrass Parkway on the south end. We have this area, I'm going to go on to the next slide, in fact. This area for the multifamily component is situated to accommodate a gate. We do intend to gate that multifamily component back in the back. Going through the retail uses, so this is the convenience store retail, fuel canopy associated with the convenience store, retail building 2, multifamily in the back. So we have a total of 4 preliminary architectural renderings we wanted to share. This is the retail building that's sitting on the north side of the site. This is the south-facing elevation at the traffic circle. That traffic circle would be one-way, mountable curb on the inside with brick pavers to access the retail building, the convenience store, and then flanking off to the west, the apartment building. So this is a close-up view of the front of the convenience store, the retail. This is the west elevation. So this, again, is going to face, for the most part, wrong way. Can you rewind that back? Mm-hmm. I got it. So this is going to face just north of the intersection, not directly aligned with the intersection, but face just north of the intersection. A second view further back of the convenience store, the retail area, and the fuel canopy. Again, the west-facing elevation. And then lastly, the multifamily residential. This is the west elevation facing the back of the convenience store. Before I get into framework, I wanted to mention, and I just ran across this actually inadvertently. This site was mentioned. This goes back as far as 2009 in the District 3 specific plan, that this site was contemplated for village commercial. 2009, it was mentioned again in 2017 in the District 3 update, and here we are today. It appears over and over and over again in framework. So the framework comprehensive plan, the cover sheet on this plan, so this plan was adopted in February 2021 by y'all. The framework plan defined a long-term vision for Tuscaloosa and set the direction for the city's growth and development for the coming decades. And then in the executive summary, it says again, under development approvals category, administrative and legislative approvals of development proposals, including rezoning and subdivision plats, should be a central means of implementing the plan. Decisions by the Planning Commission and City Council should reference relevant comprehensive plan recommendations and policies. It's pretty clear. Public decision makers will be using the plan as a guide in their development deliberations, such as zoning matters and infrastructure requests. Property owners and developers should be cognizant and complement the plan's recommendations, which is what we're here attempting to do. Again, this plan was adopted by you guys and City Council in 2021. Staff mentioned that, this was one of the primary growth areas. Encourage integrated commercial and mixed-use centers. Encourage infill development. Smaller scale centers provide services primarily for the convenience of surrounding neighborhoods. Commercial and mixed-use center, same intersection. Future land use character map, limited commercial and traditional neighborhood edge again. Limited commercial provides goods and services to and within walking distance of surrounding neighborhoods. They generally exist near prominent intersections within a neighborhood or at its edge. These centers may include mixed-use, live, work, or multifamily residential uses that are compatible in scale to nearby neighborhoods. The growth proximities and annexation plan. Most of us in this room have been heavily involved with watching McWright's Ferry Road and, what a $75+ million project is going to do to this area. This document was written to align with what we're here proposing to do tonight. Priority growth areas. Primary expansion area, priority number 1, there it is. Currently in North Tuscaloosa, the demand for limited commercial services is limited. However, as the area develops, there may be a growing need for neighborhood commercial services and small-scale commercial developments in multiple locations. One thing I wanted to point out lastly before I leave you all, so this site is in the county today, which is obviously why we're here requesting annexation, attempting to do this right. Annex into the city so the city can realize the tax dollars from this commercial site that's been touted a commercial site for the past 15 years. The motivation behind coming into doing this is simply to do this right. We don't need access to sewer. This project can remain in the county, and we can build this project with no annexation and no rezoning. But we're here to set a standard. The Plott family has a track record of multiple, very high-scale, prominent developments on this side of the river that this one's going to follow suit. We're not going to put something out there that none of us can be proud of, that would be looked down on. And again, we're here to try to do the right thing. I'll answer any questions you have.
Any questions for petitioner? I think we might have some coming to you a little later. Anyone from this body?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Harrison?
Mr. Chairman, we had a lot of people, several people sign up. I think I'm following this right. Chris Roberts, number 1, Mr. Chris Roberts.
Good evening. I am Chris Roberts of 4 Oak Chase, and I speak for my fellow residents in Oak Chase, which is catty corner from the site in question. My neighbors there and elsewhere are affected by the work that's already happening at McWright's Ferry and New Watermelon. We've lost trees that were a buffer to what would be in question here. We're expecting a parking lot across the street where the walking trail along McWright's Ferry will end. And now this, and many of my neighbors and I will have direct sight line to the bright lights and the noise if a gas station shows up. It'll be a pretty gas station. It's still going to be a gas station. Now, I come to this with some understanding of zoning. I was a reporter for the Birmingham News, covered zoning for many years. Only 4 of the 5 county commissioners I covered are felons now, but that's a story for another day. So we oppose this for several reasons. The council for years has rejected zoning in the area where we live. Tuscaloosa's history of rezoning from residential to commercial and high-density housing is often met with litigation and declines in property values and quality of life. Just down Rice Mine Road, between the Bryant Bridge and CVS, you'll see the mess from bad zoning decisions. Businesses replace residential houses. Houses go empty. Businesses pop up without regard to the single-family residences already there. We don't think it makes sense. The developers mentioned zoning designations, some things we learned this night in the last few minutes. The developers are talking about commercial centers. The framework report says, and he did not put this in highlights, quote, commercial centers ought not happen until, quote, significant residential growth in the area creates a viable market. We don't think it's ripe yet. And also, we can just go down to Rice Mine and get the 3 gas stations within 2 miles that are already there. They're very nice renderings, but they don't show what's across the street on 3 of the pieces of the intersection. Secondly, and this may be a question, the Planning Commission's staff report says there's a commercial building to the east of the property. And I don't know what it is. It may be the photo business or a dog grooming business that's well off the road, but it's not already a commercial area. So we ask that you not turn this into a commercial area just because the report suggests it. And in fact, the city just approved a pair of R1 developments north and west of the proposal before us today. Finally, less than a month ago, the citizens rejected a school tax increase. Our city schools said that losing the vote could lead to budget cuts and fewer services for students, and now we have a developer who wants to add apartments that will add many more students. And finally, we ask, why here? The New McWrights Ferry extension has several miles of vacant land. Building in undeveloped areas give you and the city the opportunity to do it right, instead of just putting a gas station and apartments in an area completely surrounded by R1 and established neighborhoods. And if the developer gets what he wants, the results for the rest of us are going to be as predictable as what the city has let happen on Rice Mine and elsewhere. There'll be more houses next to businesses, more owner-occupied houses that become abandoned, that become rentals, more curb cuts. It's just not smart growth. And our neighbors know it. In 3 days, 500 residents signed a petition opposing this. They know that it sets up for their neighbors lights and noise and congestion, where we purposely moved to avoid commercialization. Now, we recognize that change is going to come to this area, but we ask that this be postponed until the framework approach has been adopted and the developers take the residents into consideration. Finally, I teach ethics at the University of Alabama, among other things, and I say to my students, if you wouldn't want something to happen to you or your family, then you ought not let it to happen to people who are around you. We ask that you reject it for that reason and many others, and we thank you for your time.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You intrigued me when you said about the area around Rice Mine and Watermill Road now being, I think your word was a mess.
Yeah.
Expand on that. What part of that area right there has kind of got this whole city-county mix going on there. So I'm curious as to help me understand that.
Well, you've got, 5 houses that are still on that street on one side. Pretty much all are rentals now. There are several empty houses where residents just didn't want to live after the commercial development came through. Right next to the Taco Casa, you've got a blank area that was supposed to be apartments. That never happened. And our fear is that this could happen again as one commercial pops up, more just keep coming, and neighbors bail out.
Part of that, I agree with Mr. Wright. I kind of want to understand what you were talking about there, and the houses that you're talking about are still standing. I know that one of the houses we rezoned there right in front of the church here recently for supposedly a coffee shop. So there's really only one other house standing there between the others. I do get what you're saying about the houses on the backside of McDonald, and they have become more BN related. But this commission shut down an operation over there because we didn't on the corner there because we didn't like the project. It didn't fit in keeping with the neighborhood. So I do understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
In fact, the zoning regulations that came in 72, what he's alluding to, a lot of that occurred before. Some of the, in other words, when Woodridge, for instance, was built, and houses fronted on Rice Mine Road, that was in the 60s. That was in 67, 68, 69, and right in there. And then we put zoning regulations in 72. This is actually an opportunity to plan better for the longer term than to let just growth happen haphazardly in a way. I mean, that is the purpose of this meeting, I think, is to think in terms of how do we plan over the next 30 or 40 years to serve that north end of the community.
And you've got plenty of space along the new road to do that.
Let's stick with any questions for the gentleman here. We'll move on to the next person. Any questions?
But some of that on Rice Mine Road, it's pockets of county.
County, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's another
And we've just
one
been
of
told
the
it's going to happen
issues.
again if you don't choose to do it.
Say that one more time.
And we've just been told that he could do this without you.
That's right.
True.
You can.
That's right. Anyway, let's We'll make comments from this body a little later. Let's get to the next
Thank
speaker.
you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next. Mr.
Hi.
Chairman, I'm assuming your name is Judy Van Hest?
Judy Van Heest, yes.
Mr. Chairman, the next person to speak is Ms. Judy Van Heest.
Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. I live at 5241 Midway Circle, which is part of the Lexington Downs community. And as Chris said, I'm going to be dealing with several issues in different ways and more specifically than areas he may have covered. Those are crime, property values, and the environment. That taking a subdivision that is over 29 years old, residential, where kids ride their bikes from the home at one end all the way up Bluegrass to where they now want to put a gas station. That's a regular riding zone for kids, walking zone, when families come to visit at Christmas, at Thanksgiving. Everyone goes to the white picket fence to take pictures. When somebody goes to get married and engaged, they go up Bluegrass to the white picket fence and take pictures. We trick or treat, we know our neighbors. And that 29-year-old community knows the value of knowing its neighbors and its community value. The average home is valued at $450,000, $435,000. Generally, those homes go up by a 1.8% value over each year, which is $8,703.82. However, you place a gas station, no matter how pretty it looks, on that end of Bluegrass, not only do you lose the family things I talked to you about, some of which I'll mention at the end, but you also lose value in property, and that's generally between 12 to 16%, which we're talking about people that are retired and people that are young families who've made their largest investment, either in their retirement in a home or in the place they want to raise their kids, losing between $54,000 and $52 to $72,000 and $69 per year. And again, that's the average that is generally lost when you take a residential area. And I know he said there's commercial there. Drive up and down the subdivision. Go down Watermelon Road. Make a right on McWright's Ferry. Go down Bluegrass. Go down the extension that's being built on McWright's Ferry. You won't see commercial. You'll see houses after houses, after houses, after homes. You'll see children playing. You'll see it all the way on Watermelon Road till you get to the fire station, all the way through Bluegrass. So if it's zoned for commercial, it's not zoned anywhere in the areas I live and anywhere in the areas I walk and drive. And I've been up and down those roads. Second, when you put in a convenience store and you put in a gas station, you have crime rates that change within a neighborhood. And that's just the reality of it. When you take a place where homes and children are playing and make it commercial, and there are 4 gas stations within 5 minutes of this area that they're proposing another one. 4 that stay busy and are in an area already zoned for commercial use. There is no need. So you have crime rates going up by 6.082% for every 1,000 people that live in the area. You have those crime rates also break down for violent crime and property crime. Violent crime, obviously, as we know, burglary, where someone's hurt, because that is a property and a possible violent crime, murder, and other things that go up. They generally go up around convenience stores. For example, 8 minutes in a commercial zone from where they are proposing to put this gas station, there was a fatal shooting at that Shell station. We don't want a fatal shooting in our neighborhood, because somebody wants to put a gas station there, no matter how pretty it looks. There were people shot on Skyline Boulevards, generally at gas stations and convenience stores. There was a teen robbery on the gas station on Rice Mine Road where 4 people were injured. These are all reports that are people that have been robbed, murdered, or killed at the gas stations, increasing property crime rates to as high as 36.82% in areas where there are commercial locations such as gas stations and convenience stores, and other crimes. Now let's get to the environment. One of the wonderful things about Bluegrass and about the neighborhood along Skyline and New Watermelon is the nature and the family. I've mentioned the family part to you, but we have young families that watch deer come up from the creeks. You have more waterways in this area, and I know I'm almost out of time, so let me finish quickly.
Please, thank you.
Gasoline stations emit benzene, toluene, ethylene, and xylene. All of those are cancerous materials that come out in the air and the water, live between 2 days and 2 weeks. We have more water in this area where our families fish, play, and swim. All will be damaged by this. The deer that people take their families out to see will be gone. The whole nature of the wildlife that we have in our area will be destroyed because this is an older neighborhood where families have lived here for a long time together, where people have retired and people come in from some of the new businesses like Mercedes. They own homes in this neighborhood where they put their executives. Do you think they will when it comes commercial? I don't think so.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the third person who signed up is Mr. Robert McNelly.
That's me.
Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening to everybody. I'm Bob McNelly. My wife, Ellen Maxwell, and I live at 5920 New Watermelon Road. She and her sister also own 5900 New Watermelon Road. Do you mind pulling up that map of that development? So that driveway coming out of the traffic circle is right between the 2 driveways we own. We have about 500-something feet of road frontage right there. The house we live in was built by my wife's grandfather, who was a forester that worked for Jack Warner when the yacht club was being developed. It was built in the early 70s, purchased in the late 60s. So like we've got 4 kids, 8 grandkids. We have about 14 acres there. We'd love to keep that a family compound. Maybe our kids would want to live there someday. But we live in the middle of one of the most water-rich areas anywhere around. And the thought of putting a gas station in the middle of something like that is it's kind of heart-stopping. 10 gallons of spilled gas can pollute 12 million gallons of groundwater. And spills and things like that happen frequently. Traffic already backs up in front of my driveway. Hopefully the McRice Ferry Road project will eliminate some of that, but I think the building of multi-unit apartment, high-density apartments will kind of negate the progress we've made. I really appreciate what we've done in Tuscaloosa County as far as putting in this bike walking path. We've got almost coming to our door. What the new accesses we're creating around Lake Nickel, Lake Harris, those are great improvements for the community and the residential area. We have no problem. Development's going to happen. I've been in construction for 50 years. I've recently retired. We wouldn't be up there if it wasn't for development. But the kind of development that we want up there is the kind that we have, which is more single-family homes, maybe garden homes, maybe townhomes. But I don't see the need for a gas station, retail, and high-density apartments. It's like in healthcare, you have certificates of need. When you want to build another hospital, you have to prove that you need that. Well, we don't have that in real estate, I guess, but it wouldn't hurt to have something like that. My main issue, honestly, is the precedent we're going to set by doing this. If you allow a gas station to be built up here in the middle of this residential area, how many neighborhoods or how many street corners do you know of where there's one gas station and another one doesn't pop up? And I know for a fact that there's another developer that also has plans to build a gas station and something pretty much just like this, right next door to it, right between the townhomes we've just approved and this development that's being proposed. So we've got 14 acres here, and we've got a nice little family environment here. If I wake up some morning and look out my window and see a gas station across the street and then maybe see another one pop up, what's going to stop me from saying I need to move somewhere else, and I'm going to come up here and talk to you guys about why don't I build a gas station up here? And what I'm asking you to do is tell me no right now. If you set a precedent and let someone build something like this up here in the middle of this residential area, it's going to be very difficult for you to turn the next guy down. You've set a precedent for it. And so all I'm asking is turn me down now. I also think my traffic coming out of my driveway isn't nearly as bad as what I see coming out of Lexington Downs and the traffic that'd be emptied onto Bluegrass Parkway. I thank the Lord every time I drive out of there and see them trying to come out of their driveway, out of that road in the mornings. I'm glad I don't have to live there. At any rate, I'm just asking y'all to give good consideration to the progress you've made with the nature walks and things we've provided for the community and continue to do so. That's all I have to say. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you, sir.
Chairman, the last person we have signed up, Alan Weldon.
That would be me, and you can just leave that up if you would. I wrote everything down that I was going to say because I was afraid.
Name and address for the record, please. Name and address for the record.
Sorry, name Alan Weldon, ALAN, WELDON. Live at 4205 Midway Lane, which is in Lexington Downs. I'll diverge for a minute. I think you all pretty much stated our case earlier when you turned the other guy down, right? You said you don't want to drop R1 or don't want to change R1 to BGO without having a concrete plan, which there is not one. Nobody's shown them bill of materials. All we've seen is some potential renderings. And as you said, you can't undo what's been done once it's done, right? So they haven't shown you a detail of what they want to put there. No idea what kind of retail is going into that space, right? It could be a vape shop, I think, under BN or whatever it is under framework. And when you put the framework map up, it just stood out to me that why is this one little piece up here that looks exactly like this guy wants to develop it have been put in that map in 2009? Did somebody know something? I mean, really? There's more space around here that is county, but yet you just put that one little space in there to be commercial. So that kind of bothers me, but anyway, I digress. No, we would have never known this was going to happen had not one of the 5 or 6 people that got a letter about it and received it and put it on Facebook. Once that happened, we had a flurry of activity, and we were able to get the word out. Amazingly enough, the developer, who is also the president of the Lexington Downs Homeowner Association, didn't bother sharing any of this with us. Apparently, it's been in the works for a long time. None of the people that have bought in Lexington Downs since 2009 knew that there was going to be commercial property in there. I haven't seen anybody telling them there's going to be commercial property, right? But yet, that's been planned, right? You don't tell people, hey, we're going to put a gas station at your entrance. Do you really want to buy here? Anyway, it's been my experience that when someone's trying to sneak something in on the down low, it's either because it's illegal, immoral, wrong, or they don't want to deal with the blowback from the people that's going to be affected. In this case, I think it's they don't want to deal with the blowback because, as we said, we were able to get 500 signatures in less than 72 hours. And you give me another week, I can get you another 1,000. I've been up and down McWright's Ferry Road and New Watermelon. Haven't met a person that says this is a good idea. People are angry. And I know you're not elected officials. But anyway, very little information has been made available about this project. They finally posted that plan on your website last Monday around 3 o'clock. So we've had basically a week, which is, I guess, by law all you have to do. But there's no drawings that show what the actual design features or material constructions are going to be. We don't know how many floors the proposed apartments are going to be. There's land behind those apartments. How do we know they're not going to come back and ask for more apartments there, right? Nothing that has been proposed in this project is needed in the area. Everything can be obtained within 2 miles, as others have said. In recent years, the Planning and Zoning Commission rejected the building of apartments on Rice Mine Road next to the Taco Casa. I don't know if it was you or if it was the city council, but they were rejected. There has to be that would be a better location than where they're proposing to put the ones now. So why would we do it here? And then right down the road in front of Harbor Ridge, there was just a couple years ago, they turned down a request to put an office complex there, right? Again, if you're going to do that there, why would you possibly put something as onerous as a gas station and apartments in an area that's zoned for R1 in every direction for at least a mile? People moved out to this area to get away from the lights, noise, and crime in Tuscaloosa proper. We are not opposed to all progress. Progress is inevitable. We would just like it to be done in a manner consistent with the surroundings. Isolation zoning is a bad precedent set. There's already a developer planning to put another gas station right adjacent to this property. The city's spent millions of dollars on McWright's Ferry Road and added the trail along that way. Wouldn't it be great if at the end of this trail here, there was a park like there is at the southern terminus, the Randall Family Park? Something that would more align with Elevate Tuscaloosa and the new framework document. We are more than willing to sit down with the developers. We just want a seat at the table so we can protect our lifestyle and what most people is their greatest asset, their home. We want the chance to offer more options that would be more compatible with the existing residential area. If you're unwilling to reject the zoning request outright, even after the overwhelming data we've presented to you, I hope that you will table it at least to a later date, to give us more time. I'll leave you with this thought. I'm 65 and I often think about my legacy. If I had more money than I could spend in a lifetime, what would I do with it? Would I build a park with my family's name on it, or would I just build one more gas station and apartment complex? Wouldn't it be great to hear your grandchildren say, hey, Granddaddy, that's a beautiful park, instead of, why'd you build that ugly gas station there? I'm done.
So no one has, shot up sheets with anybody in favor of this petition. Would anyone care to speak in favor of this petition? Mr. Duncan, would you care to address some of the issues you heard?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We'll touch on a few. First, the dialogue about the market conditions, this body has said over and over and over again, the developers know the market conditions, when times are right, when times are wrong to pursue these things. This is yet another case. I personally don't think the school tax matter has anything whatsoever to do with this. This apartment building is 24 units. Lights, noise matter, again, abiding by framework, down-facing lights, the landscaping, the noise, the whole bit, framework's gonna take care of all that. The crime situation, to talk about a robbery on Skyline Boulevard or in Holt, I think is a little bit taken out of place. I mean, of the convenience stores, I live up this way, and of the convenience stores that are at Old Colony and Rice Mine, I mean, the most hazardous thing you're going to run into at those stores on Friday night is going to be kids that live in this area that are sitting in that parking lot drinking beer. Really haven't seen any guns lately.
Continue, Mr. Duncan.
Interestingly enough, about the other gas station that is slated to be developed, right there. Plans were submitted Friday for a City of Tuscaloosa land development permit, which is the first step in a building permit, loaded with mini storage behind it. First step of the building permit process. Not a single tax cent is coming off of that. And we're here trying to do it right. The comment about no details in the drawings, I mean, y'all know the way this program works. This is the level of drawings that we produce for this level. Get into construction drawings, everything's refined, but this is what we intend to build. I mean, it's not going to look far from this when it's finished. This is what we intend to build. The illegal, immoral thing about the spot on the map, how did this just magically happen? Hunter bought this property in 2021. All these District 3 specific plans go back almost 16 years ago. So I don't think there's anything unethical being done here. It was on the maps in 2007. More apartments in the back, the comment about more apartments in the back, we don't have any plan for that in the back today.
Come on now.
But that area right there is being reserved for an on-site sewage disposal system if we stay in the county. That's why we're not going to put another apartment building right there.
I don't think, I couldn't hear that last.
Yeah, I'm with it.
State that clearly.
So that area, just east of the playground area, would be reserved for an on-site sewage disposal system if we end up ultimately keeping it in the county.
It's an on-site sewage disposal system for that parcel right there, meaning if he stays, meaning if the property stays in the county, that's how he'll have to handle his sewage and waste.
That's where we would put it.
And that's what he's saying. That's where he'd put that right there for the public.
Maybe to state it more clearly, he's saying it's gonna happen whether it's in the city or not. And if it's not in the city, they're gonna build their own on-site sewer system and build the apartments anyway, that's what's being said. And they can legally do it without our permission.
Continue,
That's
Mr.
what's
Duncan.
that's what's being said.
Okay, continue, Mr. Duncan. Ma'am, let's let Mr. Duncan speak. We'll answer, I heard the water question. We'll answer the water question from a legal standpoint here shortly.
So by no means are we up here saying this, we'll keep it in the county as a threat. We chose to come to this meeting. We chose knowing that this audience was going to be here, but we chose to come up here and do this the right thing in accordance with the documents that y'all have been working on for 5 years with Framework, that this body adopted. Every one of your names is on it. We're simply trying to do the right thing.
Any other, going to continue? Or Mr. Woodson, there was a question. Let's talk about the water access. We know what in the city they obviously get water, but if they've remained in the county, Explain the water and the sewer system for the
You do
public.
not have to annex for water, you have to annex for sewer.
So they can get water from the city. They just cannot, if it's in the county, cannot tap into the sewer system.
Correct. Correct.
And that's, by staying in the county, that's what he's saying there on that one lot would have to be for the sewage disposal system.
Correct.
That's correct?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Hope that clarifies for the public what the water sewer question. Okay?
That's all I have.
All right.
And you are not asking to connect in the sewer system regardless, correct?
Well, if we annex and get it rezoned, we would connect to the city sewer.
Jimmy, let me ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
See if I can find the question I want to ask. You said that if you brought it in, you would be willing to bring it in under our new GC code, correct? You know, commercial.
Yes, sir.
Instead of the BE.
In framework. Those would automatically transition.
Well, they do January 1.
Correct.
So, I mean, if you did anything before January 1, you legally wouldn't have to do that.
Correct.
If y'all do, you're willing to do that,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And I would just like to know, so if this is not annexed into the city, you still have plans to go forward with this development either way?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Howard, at this time.
Have you took time to meet with the residents and
No,
hear the
ma'am.
concerns? Well, I would just like to say, my only concern is that if this was not annexed into the city, I believe that the residents and the community would have more to be concerned about than they do tonight. So I wish you could have, I would like to see a conversation with the residents. you
I'll
know.
discuss it with my client, yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Well, the process, Mike, with the LDP process with a second one just appearing here today, the second one that we found out about today.
Yes, sir. That's right. Yeah.
Explain that process. What'll have to happen with that?
So it'll go under a review, not only from my department, but also the planning department as well. The proposal will have to fulfill all of the obligations for the technical design. We'll look at issues potentially with their access to Watermelon Road, what they're proposing. We'll look at, do they meet the parking requirements for the proposed uses? We'll look at what they're planning on doing as far as sewer. Obviously, if their drawings show that they're going to connect to the sewer, and we've just mentioned tonight that you can't connect to the sewer without annexing and being within the city limits. So there's a whole host of things that we'll be looking at as we review those plans.
Have they indicated their desire to annex?
I haven't heard. No, sir, I haven't heard.
Are those for two separate pieces of property? We've got two pending LDPs on two separate pieces of property or the same piece of property?
So it's one ownership that we receive plans from.
And what, is it one building?
No, it's multiple. And I apologize for not being thoroughly vetted tonight. Like I said, we got the plans in today, and I spent about 10 minutes just flipping through them. There is a convenience store fuel canopy. The convenience store shows two other uses in the store. So it's going to be multiple uses in that one particular building. There is a separate retail building component, and then there's a substantial amount of storage, maybe boat storage, but some kind of storage facility, mini storage. I don't know if mini storage is the right word to use, but that's the components of that layout.
And just to chime in on the use piece, so when it's not in city limits, we have no regulation on what type of uses can go in there. We have no regulation on parking requirements, landscape buffers, what the materials are that they would be required to build under. So a lot of the planning components that you know, when you annex into the city that come into play would not be coming into play if you're staying in the county like the above proposed property is doing.
I'm just curious, is an LDP required just in our planning jurisdiction or our police jurisdiction? How far does it go out?
They go out to the police jurisdiction.
EJ?
Jimbo, just so we can fully vet this, the possibility of a what's the requirements of something that's built into the county under the county standards, then being annexed into the city at a later date? That's has happened, hasn't it?
Probably has. If they build something in the county and then try to annex it solely for sewer, I think they've got a problem. By going the end around, they may not get that annexation.
What would be the reasons they would annex into the city if they built it in the county?
Usually it's going to be for sewer.
I know for sewer, but if it's just for sewer, then it's a problem, right? What are other?
And it may be for streets or things that, it may be incentives if they're eligible for incentives, for some infrastructure or turn lane or something like that.
Sunday alcohol sales is a big one. You can't sell alcohol in the county on Sundays, but in the city you can. The venue and the Shell station up by Sokol Park, they annexed in after developing in the county. However, they built to city standards knowing that they were going to be annexing into the county.
The septic would have to meet the health department standards and pass the LDP review.
So they would have to build, back to Zach's point, they would have to build if they annex later. They would have
No, just in general.
Okay.
They'd have two hurdles to go on that, to whatever they build or design would have to meet their needs and pass those two levels.
Zach, you're saying that if they build in the county, we don't have a lot of say-so on building materials, lighting, design, buffers, all that kind of stuff?
No, sir, you would not.
So
Or
if
the
it's
city would not.
annexed into the city, he says they're gonna build anyway, but if it's annexed into the city has say-so in lighting, buffer zones, design.
Uses,
all kinds of
specific
stuff. Yeah,
uses.
Yeah, it can't be tattoo parlors and certain businesses in that.
Building height,
If
density.
it's in the city.
If it's in the city, yeah, all those come into play only if it's in the city.
Sewage would be behind the apartments if they build in the county. That's what he just told you.
So, any more questions for Mr. Duncan? I don't think Mr. Duncan raised any new issues, he just addressed the ones that were raised by those in opposition. So there's no need to reopen it back up for comments. So that being said, I think we should close it and have a conversation amongst this body and continue to ask staff any specific questions you might have. I think you've asked quite a few and some good ones, but now's the time to.
Motion to close discussion.
Well, I want to just say something before. I think there are people in the audience that maybe still need a little clarification on the handling of the sewage.
Okay.
If it comes into the city and the developer taps into our sewer, it's handled in that manner. If it stays in the county, he must dispose of the sewer in it with a septic tank system. I know you had that question. Is that, are you good with that now?
Or an on-site.
Well, an on-site, yeah, exactly. So,
in other words, it won't prevent it from operating its own sewage system.
Correct.
Septic or processing or whatever. It won't prevent it from being built.
Yep. Mr. Garner, are we correct on that from the
An example.
staff standpoint?
An example of that is Legacy Point up on Lake Tuscaloosa. It didn't have access to sewer. They put their own on-site disposal system in, a spray system, and they did it a certain number of feet from the lake, and as far as I know, it's working. I mean,
Is there,
pardon me?
Mr. Garner, is there any, you want to clarify anything that was said here that was inaccurate or was accurate based on the sewer system?
No, everything that's been said is accurate, you know.
All right. Any more questions for staff? And then I guess I'll open it up. We've closed it to public comment. That's our rules. Again, it's the body's determination. If there's a motion to close.
Yeah, okay. Motion to close, and then we'll talk amongst
Yeah.
Second.
All right, so motion to close. All say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it.
One of the things I think was being asked is it feasible or expensive to build one of these on-site sewer systems? I think up at Legacy Point, there were 50 houses. I think this is a convenience store and 24 houses, is that, or 24 apartments, I mean. So probably not that far apart in sewer demand in that respect, but, you know, one of my observations is it looks like we're gonna have a gas station one way or the other. It seems like to me that our rules, regulations, architectural standards, building materials, things like that are more stringent than in the county, of course. I'd like to probably bet on if there were, you know, when we talked about the marketability, it will be a growth quarter for sure. I think there was a big development this body approved a year or two ago up on the lake on that side, and I think it's coming to fruition now. I think there will be more demand, but I don't know that there's demand for two. This is almost a race to the finish line. Whoever gets to the finish line first is probably going to rule this domain for the convenience store gas thing. Now, that's just, I'm not guaranteeing that. That's an observation. I guess I'm thinking if I lived in the city, I'd rather us use our building materials standards, architectural controls, and the things that we put in framework rather than not know that someone could do just about anything that they could do. I guess that's the way I kind of see it. And back to 2009, I'm sure that this body was probably involved in some way, you know, in the District 3 master plan. But in those type things, you're looking 20, 30, 40 years down the road, and you're trying to estimate what kind of commercial uses or demands will be needed in a community. You never know for sure, but as the North River Corridor, you know, the McCrights Ferry Road extension, I'm not even sure when it was introduced, but I think most people, we've known for a decade at least that it would probably create a more developable area. I think they're going to spend millions of dollars on Elevate, maybe on Lake Nickel. Is that correct? That's going to be a draw. I think it's like one gentleman said, it's inevitable that we have growth, and I think one of the things that this body had to do back in 2009 is try to project what type needs, goods, and services that this area would need. I mean, so I think there were some neighborhood commercial pods that were identified. You know, I think one of them was at this location. I think the next one may be up at the Sally Sexton four-way stop. I don't know if there is one at the water tower past North River, but I know the Sally Sexton four-way stop is one. And I don't know how big an area that we identified, but I do remember all the way back to then. And, you know, that's just the way I remember it, the way I see it.
Any other?
After hearing the concerns from the residents tonight, my initial thoughts were that if it's not annexed into the city, then the residents in this community will have a lot more to be concerned about. So I'm in favor of having it annexed so that we can have this development built to the standards of the city, especially when it comes to the buffer and the materials and the look of it. And I think that's the best way for us to preserve the integrity of this community, considering that the developer, the petitioner has already stated that they're willing to do this, whether it's annexed in or not.
Yeah, I mean, I concur with that. My concern is if it stays in the county, it's going to be far worse than what we're looking at now. It has the potential, I'm not saying it will, but it has the potential to be worse.
Zach, can you go in the presentation where they showed the specifications and some stuff where they talked about the lighting levels, talked about the zoning. Okay. Part of what we're trying to do here is to make sure what we do helps Tuscaloosa. And look, I understand y'all's plight. I do. I've got to ride by this twice a day myself. I love looking at that. I love the deer. I'm exactly like all of y'all. The rice, the extension, the Wrights Ferry Road extension. I wish it'd be over with. It's been a mess for us all. But the potential that this thing could be built in the county, not to our standards, and someday annexed into the city, can create a lot worse development up there than us being able to control it under our standards. These things, the lighting standards is one of them. They wouldn't have to do the downward lighting standards, and so you would get, the adjacent neighbors would get the light pollution. The screening standards that we have, you won't get those. So the buffer standards, you're not going to get those. The signage, you're going to get different signage up there than you'll be able to get in this. The best thing for this development to do, and I know I can never convince any of you of listening to this and hearing this, is that it does get annexed in, and potentially we are able to. We've dealt with these developers before. We've dealt with this group before, and their standards seem to be higher than most developers. They do a good project. I can't imagine them not staying within the terms and conditions that they've agreed on here in this meeting. I think we've all explained to you the downside of this being in the county, that whether these guys do it, I don't think they would. They may do it. I don't think that they would go through with it. I don't know who this other developer is, but he's certainly going to have the same situation. He may be the one put a worse disposal system. I haven't seen this project. I don't know what this storage unit consists of. I don't know what the retail consists of. I don't know what the gas station looks like, but certainly if it stays in the county and we don't have control over it's got the potential not to be of the standards that we can set forth by annexing it and zoning. The developer is committed to go with our revised zoning. We've been up here for almost 3 years now, working diligently, trying to get the standards better in the new zoning classifications. By going into the general commercial, he's accepting some things that he can't do. He's accepting some things that he can't put in there, some things that we would not allow up there. Things like the vape shops, the phone repair shops, these things, the tattoo things, these can't go up there under this new designation.
One of the things that's been exposed, Tim, is what you're saying is the pockets of land that's in the county is really of greater concern. Is that what you're kind of alluding to is you could have a Butler building?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think what we will see along that corridor is going to be some additional development. I think that we are going to see some development that's going to be in the county that we're not going to have any control over. There's a lot of land on McWrights Ferry Road that's in the county, and unfortunately, the cost of doing something along the lines of a mini storage building, that something doesn't need the sewer and the water that we do, is going to be of more value than some of these people's homes and some of these people's properties. So I think these are the things that we're all going to be trying to fight. I get it. I'd like to turn there every day looking at trees and looking at grass, but I think this is the right thing to do for what we're doing.
Any other comments from the other commissioners?
probably won't be able to go home and stay with my wife tonight.
So Jimbo, you said it's routine that, is it routine or do we have any teeth that, let's say there was a second store and they actually wanted to build it. My gut feeling is if someone gets a store approved, okay, that it wouldn't be in the best interest of the second developer to build the second one, okay? But that's gambling, okay? Now, let's say the second one were built and it were in the county. You said it did not require annexation to get water.
Right.
Can you deny water? I mean, I realize they could drill a well, okay, but I'm just.
You can deny water, and there are also rural water authorities who would be glad to come into our area and service them.
But
So we get our water sold to them from somebody else.
But with rural water, would that make sense for them? For them to reach into our.
They have gone to great lengths to enter and sell at times.
We can't, if they are on rural water, they can't get city sewer, correct?
Right, that was if they were
Talking
gonna
about the
get,
second.
Correct.
if they were gonna build on septic.
So they would never be able to annex if they did that.
Anybody else, any other commissioners have any comments? I mean, I think Mr. Harrison, I think all the parties up here have had good points, and we understand, completely understand your concerns. And I guess one of the first, those in opposition talked about the mess around Rice Mine Road, and I look at that, and I think Ms. Prince even mentioned that a lot of that is county. You got a storage place, you had the car wash, and you've got some residential there, and I just worry about what could be if we don't annex. And that's I think everybody's concern up here is we can control what happens and we can make the best of what the situation is. And I would hope from somebody who's been in a retail type environment that if this got approved and this got in the city, I would be stunned if that next developer came in and put one right next door to it. I know you can use the McDonald's and Wendy's and all that analogy, but I don't think there's that many heads and beds up in that area that would warrant having two of these type of facilities. And more than likely, if they were to stay in the county, would get the same effect around Rice Mine Road with storage. And I don't want to see a bunch of storage places up there. We denied a storage place right there in that intersection because we didn't think it fit in. I think this body's in a tough spot, and I think and obviously the council will be as well. And I'm sure this will get the same amount of interest and input at that level. But I think our job is to try to do what's absolutely best with the cards that we were dealt. And I think that's kind of where I land on this proposal. So, anyone? I heard a question. Yes, we will get sales tax if we annex in the city. And there was a comment made about the improvements through, the trailheads and the walkways. Well, if we won't get any tax dollars if it stays in the county. So that's a great point. So anyway, anyone else care to make any comments from this body?
Well, I agree with what everyone said so far. I would just like to thank everybody for being here. I know y'all have gone to a lot of trouble to be here. I appreciate you sending your emails. We've read them. We've gotten copies of every email that's been sent. I think that makes we learn a lot from citizens who come in and state their opposition, their objections, their observations, or whatever. I feel like, this may not be the right thing to say, but I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard spot, sort of, simply because I understand where you all are coming from. My home is my largest investment, too, and I want to protect it. I know all of you want to protect it, too. Couple of things, and I think some of this has already been said when the gentleman went through and talked about from 2009, this has been sort of targeted as some sort of commercial type area. And we did pass framework, and I and other people on this commission try to defer to framework. because we spent a ton of money and a ton of time, and we hired professional people to come in and give us their opinion on how we should plan for the future of Tuscaloosa. Now, a lot of times we don't comply with framework. I've even voted myself in opposition to what framework said a certain particular property needed to be rezoned. But I feel like, really and truly, I would be doing you all a disservice if I did not vote for it to be annexed and to be subject to the regulations and standards that it will be subject to. I do believe it's going to be developed, whether it stays in the county or is brought into the city.
No questions from the body, please. Ms. Prince, continue.
I'm through. Thank you.
I agree with you, Ms. Prince. Across from Woodland Forest Elementary School, there was a subdivision built, Beacon Place, I believe is the name of it. Had some issues with the city. They decided to stay in the county. They built their own sewer system and stayed in the county, and we had no say-so over any of it to amount to anything. And I'd rather have some say-so than not.
Anyone else to, thirst closed to public comment? Anyone else care to have anyone else?
One last thing is the developer of Lexington Downs, I know there's a lot of discussion about Lexington Downs, but I think that, aren't the developers maybe related or similar? Or, I mean, I just know if it were us. I mean, if we developed a couple of neighborhoods and we did something commercial adjacent to it, there's got to be more of a pride factor than if you were in Birmingham developing a gas station. I would think that maybe that's our best bet. I mean, because I'm assuming they sold everybody in Lexington Downs their lots or their houses. So, I mean, I'm just saying from a human nature standpoint, you'd think there'd be a pride issue.
Mr. Rumsey, make sure your microphone's on.
I'm sorry.
Okay, any final comments from this body? Okay. All right, so we will now take up these cases one by one. All right, Commission, before us have an annexation request, AN 1724, annexing approximately 5.6 acres located at 5921 New Watermelon Road in conjunction with the two following cases. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to take a actual roll call vote on this one as opposed to a voice vote. So, Mr. Rumsey, annexation?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion approved. Commission before us, we have Z 1424 McWright's Ferry Land Company petition to rezone approximately 3.68 acres located at 5921 New Watermelon Road from R1 to BN. We have a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Ms. Hornsby.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Commission, that's approved. Commission before us, we have Z 1524 McWright's Ferry Land Company petitions to rezone approximately 1.92 acres located at 921 New Watermelon Road from R1 to RMF1. I have a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Rumsey.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Motion approved. This body, you are free to leave. We'll take a minute or two if you care to leave. Meeting's back in order. Thank you. Close all doors, please. Thank you. Staff, let's continue.
All right.
Ma'am, Caitlin, can we take the broadcast news outside? Thank you. That's right. Thank you.
All right. Let's continue. We have one standalone rezoning request, that is Z1624. Ann Huntsinger petitions to rezone approximately 1 acre located at 5126 McFarland Boulevard East from BGO to BH. This is in Council District 7. Here's the vicinity map. It's just north of Shindig. We looked at this property the other week during framework as well. This was identified as highway commercial, and the two portions that we'll be looking at were not highway commercial. You see the two strips of BGO there. They are requesting to rezone that to BH to match directly south. And here's an aerial overview. It's an existing commercial retail strip today. That's what that looks like from the street. They're requesting to rezone to BH to allow for the sale of RVs and campers. Here is another view of that from 82. This does conform to framework. The zoning request conforms, as well as the intended use. This was identified as corridor commercial, which is a wide range of retail in the car-oriented pattern. And here's that future land use character map, showing that as corridor commercial, and all of the permitted uses within the existing BH today. And I will click through these, but stop me at any time. All of the special exceptions within that zoning district. Do you have any questions for staff?
Do we have a specific title for RVs and campers? I'm just wondering. Or is it automobile?
It is, in the future ordinance, it is specifically called out as larger traffic. I don't know the exact terminology.
we obviously y'all know that our new ordinance is going to have very specific uses. In this one, we play around with it, but we have a designation from where we put it.
Should be recreational vehicles. I'm pretty sure that's the future
recreational
use.
vehicle sales.
That had no bearing on this case. I just
right.
Yes, and also in front of you all, you should have a packet that is from the petitioner. She is just highlighting her reasons for rezoning and to bring this business into city limits.
So for anyone that wasn't here last Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays ago? Yeah. Anyway, for the last framework, this petitioner came requesting these parcels to be
highway commercial,
and we granted those, knowing that this was going to come here. They're here just for peace of mind to make sure they can get this deal done. It's not they want it. They don't want to go into the first year not knowing with 100% certain this thing is rezoned. And
that's right.
We tried to tell them that it'd be felt safe, but I get it. So.
Right, and the BH existing parcel south of the 2 BGO is under the same ownership as well.
And we left it. We decided to leave that as.
No, all three of these. So the BGO is owned with the same ownership as the BH, and so
but we stopped it at these 3 parcels. We didn't go south of that.
Yeah, yes. It's just these 3 right here.
That's
okay.
Right.
All right. Fair enough. Any other questions for staff? Thank you. Petitioner.
Yes, sir. Good evening. My name is Ann Huntsinger. I am at 209 Birchwood Drive, Loganville, Georgia. I want to first say what a delight it is to be on this side of the podium. I started in planning and zoning. I'm in my 2nd elected official term as city council in my area. And I will tell you that multifamily and developers always, it's so nice to be on this side. So tonight I want to talk about about campers and camping just a little bit. I'm here to answer any questions. In front of you, you have a packet that talks a little bit about who we are. My husband is here as well. Just talk about who we are. We are a family dealership. There are not any other camper dealerships within 70 miles that do what we do with the manufacturers that we do. I gave you some photographs, and Joe has some storyboards because we did those. Just a little bit about the value that we want to bring here to Tuscaloosa. And then the before and afters of what we've done and you have these in front of you in your packet. We anticipate the impact to the city and the county in year 1 to be about $375,000 with tax. And while that is not as big as certainly some other entities in the city. We do think it's a great addition. There are a lot of people here that camp. If you look towards the end of your packet, there is some information about how many people have bought campers here in the city of Tuscaloosa, 171 new and 243 used. And many people will begin to buy campers if they know that there is a place to buy, service, and have manufacturer's warranty. And as new camper dealers, similar to a car dealership, we will be able to service any Forest River and Thor camper, even if you didn't buy it from us. So I realized that with the framework zoning conversation that we had, that going, it looks like an HC is kind of the direction that we're going starting January 1. But I like everything to be dotted and crossed, so I'm here to answer any questions so that we're ready to get rocking and rolling the first part of the year.
So obviously you will have, which is great, having sales tax revenues on the sale of a vehicle, or I guess it's recreational vehicle like this. Do you also have a retail that you will sell other accessories and things of that nature?
Yes, we sell RV parts as well. So
Parts.
everybody that has an RV needs pieces for it, or they need sanitation hoses, or a new awning, or a skylight, and we are a destination for that as well.
Ms. Hunsinger, I'd be more apt to vote yes if you get Vanna White there. That's a frown in this.
I could have my husband do it. He's good looking.
How many employees?
I like seeing Joe work a little bit anyway.
How many employees you gonna have? How many employees will you have?
We have 9 in our Georgia location right now.
Okay. Good.
Oh yeah, here, let me see these real quick. So if you want to, let me grab, I got them. So this is what it looked like, and I think this was what our Noonan location looked like, which was just an old kind of a warehouse, not really much to it at all. And you should have these pictures as well. And this is what it looked like early winter, partially stocked. And this is what it looks like now with the sun, and it's fully stocked. And we get a ton of people that just come in and sit in my husband's office or my office, and they kind of shoot the breeze, and they want to talk about camping, and they tell their neighbors and their friends, and it's been great. So we're really looking forward to being here in this community. Lots of small business.
Mostly
Yes.
pull-behinds?
Say that again?
Mostly pull-behinds, or do you have any drivable vehicles?
No drivables.
It's all
We don't do, not at the time, and I don't know that we have, it's a much different market. We'd prefer to stay with travel trailers. So we don't have any anticipatory about having a car shop and taking and changing oil and that sort of thing.
You'll appreciate what, 112,000 in sales tax for, you're projecting that?
Yes.
Any questions for petitioner? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you all very much for your time.
I don't think anyone signed up to speak for or against this, but anyone care to make any comments for this petition request? Having heard none. All right, Commission, before us, we have a rezoning request, Z1624, Ms. Hunsinger, petition rezone 1 acre from BGO to BH. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Rumsey?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion approved. Welcome to Tuscaloosa.
All right, don't know what happened there, but we'll get it cleared up. Thank you, Ms. Hayes. We have one downtown riverfront overlay district case for you this evening, DROD 424. Kayla Jackson petitions to modify the exterior facade of the building located at 2312 Gary Fitz Street. This is zoned BC DROD in Council District 4. Here is the vicinity map. This is the old Burkhalter's jewelry building right there on Gary Fitz. Here is an aerial overview of that property, and here's what it looks like today. They are proposing, the main improvement that you'll see is they are proposing to do a straight line storefront system. So today it has that dip in, I guess we could say. So they're proposing to make that flush. They also want to replace the existing overhead awning on the site, and they also have some signage, but that signage is handled administratively. They state that the tan brick is to remain, so they're not proposing any paint changes here. And here is an elevation of what that would look like. So really, it's just that new storefront system That is the biggest change that you'll see. The Architectural Review Committee found that overall, this development does meet the intent of the DROD standards and guidelines, and a right-of-way use permit will need to be obtained in order to do that storefront awning. Do you have any questions for staff?
Can you go back to the original picture again, existing?
How recent is that? Like,
This one was pulled from Google from 2023, I believe, but walking on foot, it's similar.
okay. More questions? Petitioner.
Hello there. My name is Samantha Parr. My address is 1620 13th Place South, Birmingham, Alabama. I am the architect for Kayla Jackson, who is the owner of Body Bar. There's not really much left for me to say. We are essentially leaving this shell as it is. We're just replacing the single pane glass bay storefront windows that they have now with a new updated, low E meets code straight storefront system. It's within the existing opening already, so it won't be any bigger. And that previous picture with the kind of deteriorating awning, I don't know when it fell down, but it is currently down. So we are hoping to replace that. It'll be black this time. And we did look at the streetscape, the surrounding businesses, and the size and shape of the awning is relatively cohesive with the street. It's just black now instead of brown. And I think that's pretty much it, if y'all have any questions.
So are you pulling the entrance doors out to the face, or are they still recessed?
Yeah,
It looks
so
like
they're-
it's pulled to the front.
Yeah, they're in plane with the
With
frontmost
the front.
existing
Gotcha, okay.
glass.
So right
and then-
now,
Right.
recess, we're getting ready.
Right.
Getting
The
more square
recess-
footage, you're getting more square footage inside.
I'm sorry?
You're getting more square footage inside.
Yes,
doing
that's
that.
correct.
Okay.
The divot kind of that's within the canopy of the building will now be conditioned
Okay.
square foot. Mhm.
Any more questions for petitioner? Thank you. A lot of these is like Mexican restaurants, aren't they, everywhere now? Amazing.
Vince does
Thank you. Anyone care to speak for or against this petition request? All right, having heard none, commission, before us, we have a DROD 0424, Ms. Kayla Jackson petitions to modify the existing facade of the building located at 2312 Gary Fitz Street. I have a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second. Ms. Hornsby.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you so much.
Moving into our preliminary plats, we have S7324 Kimberly Acres. This is consisting of 3 lots on approximately 30.86 acres located at 17408 North Hagler Road. This is not in city limits. We are very far north with a parcel that has some frontage on the lake. And then it's 1 lot today. They're proposing to go to 3. And they are creating a flag lot there with lot 2, so they are requesting a lot configuration variance.
Engineering on the flag lot? Mr. Garner, engineering, any issues?
No issues.
Thank you. Petitioner.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Chris Centel, Centel Engineering. This is a family division. The lots 1 and 2 are for the daughters. And we had submitted an LDP, a lake LDP earlier, and for a house that was gonna go on lot 3, but they wanted to move, the daughters discussed it and wanted to move the houses close to each other. So we'll be submitting another lake LDP, I'm sure. But I'll be glad to answer any questions if you got them.
Any questions for petitioner? Thank you. Anyone care to speak for or against this petition request? Having heard none, commission, before us, we have S7424 Wingard subdivision. 1 variance request for lot configuration, engineering has no issues with. Do I have a motion and a second?
Kimberly
This is
Acres.
Kimberly.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Kimberly, I apologize. 7324.
We can get 2 for 1.
I'm trying to. Still rattled from the earlier day.
No joke.
Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second. Mr. Rumsey?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion approved.
Next up, we have S 7424. This is the Wingard subdivision, a resurvey of part of Lot 26 of Searcy Heights. This is consisting of 3 lots on approximately 3.05 acres located at 2716 39th Street. This is not in city limits. Here's a vicinity map. It is surrounded by city limits. There's an existing rail line that runs just west of that. And here are those parcels today, currently 2, and they're proposing 3. So here's a plat with contours and without. They're requesting a variance from lot configuration.
Mr. Garner?
No comments.
No comment?
No concerns.
Okay, I was like, wait a minute, that's a difference between.
Checking out on us?
Yeah, I was like. He's confused too. Thank you. Petitioner?
You forgot we used to start like at 7. Members of the commission, Chris Centel Engineering. We're separating the lots. There's 3 separate entities. The lot 1R is already an existing house. Lot 3R is an existing home. And then lot 2R is a barn dominium. So we want to make sure they get on separate parcels. So.
Doesn't say barn dominium, it says barn. There's a big difference.
Maybe I
It's some nice barn dominium.
I might not be able to spell barn dominium.
I mean, you need to take credit for that.
No.
Any questions for petitioner? Thank you. Anyone care to speak for or against? All right, Commission for us with S 7424, Wingard subdivision with 1 variance request, lot configuration. Engineering has no comment. I mean, it has no recommendation. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I think I'll go Ms. Hornsby this time.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion approved.
All right, last plat of the evening, S 7524. This is Park Forest number 9, a resurvey of lot 1 of Park Forest number 6. This is a reconfiguration of 2 existing lots on approximately 1.86 acres, located at 12119 and 12125 Park Forest Trace. This is not in city limits. Here is that vicinity map. We are far down 82. The closest marker that we have identified was Maxwell Elementary, but I know that there's more down there. And here's that aerial overview. It's 2 lots today, requesting to just amend where that existing boundary is. So that's the plat with contours and without. And they're requesting a variance from cap sewer.
Engineering.
No issues with that.
Petitioner.
Kevin Hinkle with Montgomery and Hinkle, Inc., Professional Land Surveyors, 203 Hargrove Road East, representing this plat. And staff did an excellent job. We're just adjusting the lot line to have the residents conform to minimum building lines, and the owners know that they have to move the sheds prior to the plat being signed. Any questions if you have them?
Any questions for petitioner? Anyone care to speak for or against? Having heard none. Commission for us, we have S 7524, Park Forest number 9. 1 variance request, cap sewer. Engineering has no issues with it. Have a motion and a second.
Motion.
Mr. Rumsey.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion approved.
We have 1 standalone annexation request. This is AN 1624. This is to annex a portion of road right-of-way for 30th Avenue East. This is perpendicularly located in between Hargrove Road East and I-20. Here is the annexation map. So there's a small sliver of right-of-way there, and it won't be the full extent. I'll show you in just a second. It'll be that extent. And they're proposing, or we as the city are proposing to bring that in. This is a primary expansion area, and we're happy to answer any questions.
No issues from legal or engineering? Okay. Thank you. Petitioner? Is there a petitioner?
No.
This is the
The cities?
Yes.
Okay.
I get to grill you now.
About to say. All right.
What are y'all planning on building on this?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's a very large lot, so there's a lot of potential.
Not a vape shop.
Definitely.
Drive-through.
Yep.
See a parking plan.
All right, Commission Enforcement Annexation Request, AN 1624. City's asking for annexation. Do I have, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Welcome to the city.
Great. Happy to be back. And next up, for our last case, we have a street vacation request. This is V0224. This is to vacate a 20-foot alley known as 6th Court. It's abutting lots 9 through 13 of the Capstone Court subdivision. This is in Council District 4. As a reminder, we saw a lot consolidation for this a couple of months back, and we are back to request that. All of the parcels within this boundary were consolidated, so now they're requesting to vacate this portion of 6th Court. Here is that engineered plan showing that. And there were no issues from any of the agencies listed.
Okay. All right, Commission, nobody care to speak for or against this vacation? Don't see any. So vacation request 0224, vacating a 20-foot alley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it.
Great. Well, we'll see you all here next Wednesday, October 30th.
Are we still on track for next Wednesday being the final?
Yes, we are.
Not-
Hallelujah.
Not this Wednesday or next?
Next Wednesday,
30th.
the 30th.